All right, let's call the meeting to order. Joy, would you call the roll, please?
Hamilton,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ledger Kalin,
Yes.
Hamas,
Yes.
Howley.
Yes.
All right. I have the honor of swearing in a new patrol officer for the city of Fairfield, Chris Raymer. Here. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Chris Raymer,
Do solemnly swear that I will support
I do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially,
and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of police officer in the city of Fairfield
of a police officer in the city of Fairfield,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
All right, let's move on to our consent agenda. Tonight we have the approval of the minutes of the January 13th regular council meeting, the approval of the minutes of the January 20th special council meeting, approval of the December financial report, resolution for employment of Park and Recreation Department personnel, resolution for the employment of for the fire department, approval of liquor license to Aranda's Mexican Restaurant, and approval of claims in the amount of $281,519.79. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Flournoy and a second from Rasmussen. Let's call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Hamas,
Yes, I'm staying on the January 20th meeting minutes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Ledger Kalin,
Yes, but abstain on the January 20th meeting.
Howley.
Yes.
Okay. We have one individual on public forum appearances, people that wish to address the council. Is Dan Tudor here or out front?
I don't think so.
I didn't see him.
Okay, well, I'm just double checking.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll move on then. I would ask that we would move our property committee report up to this portion of the meeting. So Martha, you're the chairman of the property committee?
That's correct, I am. The property committee met, and the primary, of course, discussion revolved around the safety concerns for the gymnastics program. Kevin and Derek shared the report from ICAP, which the city received regarding these issues of safety. Derek indicated that he had addressed the problems, but the facility is not able to handle some of the program without different space available. The situation exists that if these cannot be addressed satisfactorily, the program might have to be suspended. There were many parents and gymnasts that attended the meeting and have great concerns for the program, as do the rest of us. The committee voted to ask Kevin to contact another individual from ICAP so that we could ask the council if they would approve Kevin's requesting this, decision again from ICAP. And that hopefully it might, I know that Derek has worked very hard to try to address the problems that were pointed out. And of course, Kevin shared with all of us the opportunity for the facility that could be in the future. But unfortunately, there is a problem of funding of $200,000 for this facility. And I guess at this time, I would ask that the council would be willing to approve the property's recommendation that Kevin would go back and see if there might be any different decision made regarding ICAP.
Do we have any questions from the council? I see that we have quite a few of the gymnastics club participants here, coaches and family members present in the audience, but I'd like to get a little feedback if you've heard anything from anyone particularly.
I just had a question. When ICAP sent their letter, were there any recommendations for modifications that could be made in the current facility to make it safer for the kids to be there and do what they're doing?
No, there were not. Just a recommendation of what, or just a comment to what the cautionary, one example to what they were talking about, a chair that was on a table. They gave an example of the things that they were talking about, but it was more a critique than it was, an offer of solutions. They don't typically do that. They're going to typically stand back in a position of little liability and just offer what the problems are. And we see these problems, repair these problems. So, but in the sense that if they send that, you send them back. Here's what we're going to do. In this case, we're going to see if we can get them down here to look at what we've done and to lay at least some kind of a blessing on it, if you want to call it that. But it's worth a shot.
That'd be a good idea.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
A gentleman from the volleyball club came up with a solution. He said, open up the wall between two of the courts and use that for gymnastics and leaving one court for racquetball and volleyball, which I thought was very generous considering that same group is concerned about the use of racquetball courts in the future. Is that a possibility? Remove a wall between two of the racquetball courts and make one big room?
Well, I mean, it's construction-wise, it's feasible. I mean, it could be done.
Right.
If that was something that would make the difference, it would. It's big. Well, you guys think it's worth it, and then we'd go over there and do a little construction activity.
I would be curious as to the use of those courts currently and if we could survive on just one for a while, because this program is obviously very popular, probably more popular than
Well, I think we
volleyball.
all feel there's definitely a need to try to work something whereby, because obviously the program has been extremely successful. And I think all of us would like to see some type of an alternative reached that would make it feasible that it will continue. Because, as I say, just even this evening, and they were there at the property meeting, when we met. So I think that, there's definitely a need for this, situation to be resolved positively. And
Only one caution I guess I would thought about that was our discussion about taking one of those courts and donating it to the school and having the private money finance putting that up so that it wouldn't be an interruption in service. That's the only thing, the service interruption for volleyball, because of course if we're using it.
Well, potentially you could take enough to reassemble a court somewhere else and still have room for gymnastics and still have one court at the facility. There's a facility meeting for the new gym project tomorrow. I'm going to be there. I'll bring this up to them.
Derek, could you
Let's see.
put any input into this? As far as what Michael was just discussing, feasibility of opening up space like that?
That still won't be a long-term solution. It'll definitely be a short-term solution. If we were to do anything, we need a facility that is for gymnastics and trampoline. I mean, I've done some research. I've threw out 3 bids to contractors to build a building. It came back to about $130,000 in utilities. I mean, high bid is $200,000 to install this thing. I guess there was an option out there, maybe going out for a loan, a construction loan, and paying it off over I don't know, 5-8 years. I mean, that was an option too. I'd hate to deconstruct a racquetball court for something short term when we might be using it when we build a gym and a gym. So
I guess at this point, the monetary end of it seems to be the biggest hurdle. Is that what you're talking about, Kevin?
Well, yeah, it is, and we've got a formula we're looking at to how to pull the project off. It's going to take private financing. Obviously, we'll come forward at some point here, with what we feel like is a formula that might see the city coming in with maybe a $50,000 share on the overall $200,000 project. The $200,000 not being just building. This is outlying cost as well, and that's a big number. But of course, we're conservatively budgeting it. The true cost of the building actually was around 140, 130, as Derek said. So that's so. I mean, we're going to come forward with something we think might work, and hopefully, in the meantime, we're going to have groups of private citizens hopefully get together and start working towards funding, helping with ideas of funding and getting out there with Drive and things like that. We're putting it in the budget per se, because we're putting a lot of things in the budget that we've been talking about as far as capital. So we're actionable on things. But certainly tonight's not the drop dead point to make big decisions. But I think we'll try to get something that can make ICAP happy enough to say, you know what, you're covered. In the meantime, let's get through this budget process and see how we can lay all that out. Other things are still out there as far as capital improvement monies. Logan question, which actually has come a little closer. We have sent our letter to the HUD folks to let them know about expansion of the program. For instance, we're moving forward on it, but we should see how it plays out over the next 2 months, and we'll try to make sure that we can keep working out where we're working out. That's right now the best we can do.
Okay. So then we'll bring this up at the Ways and Means Committee meeting coming up. You had put out a notice for that.
Yeah, we're hopefully looking at maybe the week of February the 10th through that week of the 10th, and possibly the week after. We're going to send an email out this week as a feeler with you guys. As the 10th will be ready, we believe, so we can do it as early as that and try to hit for that Tuesday and Thursday, hopefully keeping it fresh in our minds, as we did last year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, somewhere right in early February then.
Okay. I realize that it doesn't help anyone that's here in the audience tonight as far as this issue is concerned. I wish that we could do more at this particular point in time, but there are a lot of factors that are in play here with different projects that we're currently doing in the community, as well as considering doing something with this project as well. So I do appreciate that you've come out and you're showing your support by being here in the seats. I think that puts a good impression on the rest of the council members as well as myself. And as a member of the Ways and Means Committee, I believe we're going to have some pretty good, strong discussions about this coming up in our meeting in February. So I would like to thank all of you for being here tonight and taking this opportunity to come out and show your support for your program. So.
Oh, Your Honor, I was going to mention as well that we do think there's a feasibility of the foundation getting involved on the funding level, the Park and Rec.
Yeah, so I guess is the council might be thinking budgeting for 50. Is that what I heard?
Yes, and then the foundation was thinking about a possible, I don't know the numbers.
If that's a number, then I could reach out to other. I know the gymnastics is putting together a fundraising team, so okay. I mean, if the city can make a contribution like that, I mean, that helps a great deal. If
we can do that, and then the Park and Rec Foundation would come in with 20, 30, who knows? We're pretty close now in a way, being that the real cost of the building is so much, but that's where we're at now.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate all the input that you guys have given on this. So
I think it's really, really important. I mean, if we want to have, young people and young families in the community, I think this is a program that we really, really need to get behind and support. I guess, I honestly worry so much because we don't have an outside pool and summer comes and, we have young people who, are involved in activities and things. And I guess I really feel very strongly in support of the gymnastics program to see that that we don't let it fall by the wayside because of the fact that other things take precedent, that I feel really it's needed very much in this community.
Can our coach give a brief talk about eye gymnastics a little bit, just to fill the council in about some of the things?
Certainly, that we can allot time for that.
Putting you on the spot, I certainly wasn't prepared for this.
Could you come to the podium, please?
That right there says it all. That's why we do this, is because those smiley faces. This is our first year. Actually, we're in our second year now, starting our second year of competition. Last year, we had 7 national champions in gymnastics. We had, how many was it? 5 kids in the top 10 nationally for trampoline. Michelle Jong back there came in second, both in gymnastics and trampoline. We have made an impact in the nation. And if anybody wants to look at the USTA website, which is the national website for trampoline, our kids are on the cover. That's how much of an impact we have been making. We have a waiting list. We have kids that want to get into it. As far as insurance goes, all of my teen kids are covered with AAU insurance. So if that helps with discussing with whoever you guys said it was.
ICAP.
ICAP.
Right.
So all of the teen kids, so the only ones that are affected by ICAP is the recreational gymnasts, which if we had to, we could get them all on the team. So.
All right. Well, I would like to congratulate all of our medalists that are here and offer a round of applause to them for the tremendous job that they've done. And again, thank you very much for coming out. Let's move on to our resolution, action items, and ordinances. First, we have a resolution for providing for the financial support of the Area 15 Regional Planning Commission. This is a resolution that we do annually to be able to receive services from Region 15. They help us with application for CDBG, Community Development Block Grants. They also help us with income surveys, which we would like to move forward with. We've sent some to individuals here in the city of Fairfield, and we were hoping to get a better response from that than what we did. But I think that with the help of Region 15 and with the help of some of the members of the council here, we could get a better turnout for that to help our project like the downtown revitalization, as well as our sanitary sewer projects through low to moderate income areas here in the community. I think we do well with the amount of money that we pay for this service. It's $4,069.52, and I would like a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
I have a motion from Hallie.
Second.
Second from Flournoy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, let's move on to amending Article 6, Section 1 of the Regional Planning Affiliation, 15 Articles of Agreement. Kevin, can you talk a little bit about this, please?
Yes, Your Honor. This would be expanding the Technical Advisory Committee to a number of 16 and increasing the number of transit agencies represented to 2. We would be in favor and recommend the passage of the amendment.
If I could get an approval.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved by Hallie, seconded by Flournoy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're going to move on to approving tax abatement application for 501 South 23rd Street, H&H Molding. They're out in our industrial park, and as soon as my computer pulls this up, I'll look at it with the rest of you.
It was, Your Honor, in addition to an existing building, 80 by 100 plus a parking lot work for, we find it to be in order and do recommend.
So move to approve.
Second.
Question, the
Motion
parking
by
lot,
Hamas and second by Rasmussen. Questions?
the parking lot that fits in our description of improvements to a property. This is the first time a parking lot's come up, so
It would,
it's all legit, okay?
yes.
Okay, again, we have a motion by Hamas and a second by Rasmussen. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Resolution carries. We have a resolution amending sidewalk specifications. We're changing our wording so that we are consistent with 4 feet instead of matching whatever width the existing sidewalk is out there. 4 foot's a pretty standard width for sidewalk in most communities.
It is, Your Honor, and I think most communities are probably in the near future going to move to 5 feet, as a matter of fact. Our code has existed, this is pretty close to my heart, read, the width of sidewalk construction shall be 4 feet, except where a different width of walk has been constructed within the same block. In these instances, the new walk shall match the width, larger or smaller, I like that, of the existing sidewalk. It's a code that actually is codifying not having a code. So the other one, we're missing a lot of good improvements there, because anytime a private property owner would improve and not go to 4 feet at least, where it was 3, for instance, which recently did happen, we were losing that good improvement for the next 40 years. The code we're suggesting, of course, says sidewalk width construction shall be 4 feet unless otherwise authorized by council. So someone could come to council with some instance, presumably, that would be worthy of assuaging that requirement, but I could not really tell what it would be at this point, to tell you the truth.
Okay. So I would take a motion to approve this change as a resolution.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Resolution carries. The final action item that I have here, I have a couple more. We have a resolution rescinding July 2013 resolution and authorization, the revised plat of survey electing to exercise jurisdiction of subdivision plat approval outside the Fairfield city limits, Prairie Lake subdivision phase 2, part of section 19 and 30. And my understanding is this was concerning Mr. Harvey's property out here, and we had some conflict at the recorder's office. Is that what we're going through and trying to get straightened out?
There was a piece of property there that actually I think the city owned that was, I think we actually bought a piece of land that the city really owned. And then, because it was on our legal description, when they subsequently surveyed it at a later time, they realized that there was a piece of city right-of-way there that it wasn't on all the maps as city right-of-way. So we reconfigured the area to take that out, and I think that's why we're here. It's ultimately a county issue, but have to satisfy this requirement, then we can take it to the county.
Okay. Was there anything further that you wanted to add to that, Mr. Morrissey?
No, that's a good summary.
Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ledger Kalin,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Resolution carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Harvey. I notice Mr. Tudor is here, and we have passed that portion of the meeting, but I think since you are here, we're going to give you your opportunity to speak. So if you would come to the microphone.
I'm representing X Bicycle Club because Bicycle Club was never able to officially grow as I would have hoped, but it's still here at the moment. But I know you were addressing the sidewalks, and that was the very end of what I wanted to talk about, because Fairfield sidewalks are not very well maintained. They're outdated, maybe 19th century. And the water, it pools. And when you're walking through that, you're basically flooding your shoes. And most poor people have to walk everywhere. So we're not trying to walk in the streets, but if we have to, we will. But many of the drivers don't even follow our right to use the road when they just, hit us, whether we're on our bicycle or we're just walking. And of course, there's nobody out there to defend us, even though they're supposed to be. But, so 2014 is new year for Fairfield. And Fairfield has had its ups and downs. And we had Ragbri last year and the little festival thingies and whatnot. But when it comes down to the everyday life, living in Fairfield can be very dark, very vampiric, when you have vampires stuck in your blood, like when you're bicycling in the wrong direction and then you get a ticket like that you really shouldn't have got. And, or for instance, like when somebody's stealing your property and whatnot, or you're just walking around your community and then you get the police calls and you just because you're walking. That shouldn't be happening. I'm hoping that Fairfield in 2014 can make progress to, improve community. The sidewalks are the biggest issue at the moment that I wanted to start out with because I know there's a lot of things you guys are focusing on, and I just wanted to specifically address the sidewalks and how the snow and the rain pools on them, and like streets are made this way so the water drains. The sidewalks are just flat, so there's nowhere the water is going to run to. And that's just what I wanted to say.
Okay, well, thank you for coming and expressing your concerns. We have had a sidewalk program. In the past, we've improved our sidewalks dramatically from what they were a few years ago at a cost of many homeowners here in the community. Certainly, there's always something more that could be done when it comes to being able to walk safely on our sidewalks, and that will need to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, but thank you again for addressing the council.
And as part of our health and wellness efforts, our Bloom Zone efforts, we are going to put together a new master plan for walkability and bikeability in town. So it's definitely something that's on the city's radar screen. It's making it safe for pedestrians, safe for cyclists.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move back into our action items and resolutions. We have a resolution for electing to exercise jurisdiction for subdivision plat approval outside the city limits of Fairfield, and this is Sutherland. Can you talk about it a little bit there?
Yes, I don't know if John wants to address it, but it is a minor split, what we would call a minor split for Mr. Ralph Messerly, and of course we are recommending to go back with Jefferson County and for recommended approval of the same. So,
is there anything
John,
you want to add?
There's nothing unusual about it. It's just a large piece and seven piece.
Being split off.
A very minor split, yeah.
All right, well, I would look for an approval of this resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Hammes.
Second.
Second by Ledger Kalen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Resolution carries. An action item concerning awarding hazardous material testing project for 7 buildings owned by the city of Fairfield. Can you explain a little bit about this, Kevin?
Yes, Your Honor. We basically had to do some materials testing for asbestos in some of our, because of some of our work that's going to be going on the rec level. So we decided to take that opportunity to test some other buildings as well that are the cities. And so that's what this is all about. I think our recommendation is for Environmental Management Services of Iowa from Dubuque, Iowa.
Okay.
Question?
Sure.
I noticed that the next recommendation was for more in-depth, if we wanted to do a more in-depth lead-based paint, we'd go to Hawkeye Environmental for $5,320. So this wasn't specifically for lead-based paint, this was more as an asbestos?
That's right. Actually, Environmental Management Services is the more in-depth lead-based paint report, or Hawkeye would be the lesser.
Yeah, so you're actually recommending the one that includes that.
A little bit, yeah.
Spend a little bit more, but get better information.
Yes, a little more information, perhaps.
Okay, good. Sorry, I read that
if we were going to
somehow backwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody would agree if we were going to do it, we probably ought to just go ahead and get a complete report from
That's what I was going to recommend, so I'm glad you're saying the same thing.
Okay.
All right, we had a motion and a second on this?
Nope.
No.
Oh,
I
actually,
would
no.
entertain a motion.
I would move that we
to-
accept the bid from Environmental Management Services for $5,320.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Hallie. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
She beat him.
All right. Moving on to abating Maharshi University of Management solid waste charges. This came before the Environmental and Franchise Committee, and there was a report at our last meeting about this. Kevin, you got a note out to everybody explaining the number of properties that were actually involved. Is there anything further you want to explain about this, or?
There's not a long list. There's no benefit to the city to force them to use waste management service. We don't profit from it. So if they want to do their own waste and recycling, that's fine.
And they basically, that's their request, is to do it as a commercial and have a bin there. It's kind of a service they provide internally to these folks as they own those locations, or in some form there's an ownership mix at some of these locations. But they had been doing it commercially for a while. And after I arrived, we realized it. And of course, I wasn't, I needed some kind of formal arrangement. So until then, but here we are.
What effect does this have in terms of the cost aspect of it?
Effect on us?
I mean, what effect does this have in terms of what arrangements they make with waste management?
None. They could contract with Waste Management for their commercial services or another.
I guess the only thing that I'm concerned about is that, there may be other circumstances or other areas in the city that would determine that this would be preferential to do it that way.
That is true.
Setting a
It
precedent.
kind of, to me, is setting a precedent that I am not so certain that I approve of.
Well, the only difference here is that they weren't using it for so long, and then we required them to use it. So there aren't that many properties in town that don't currently use it, that weren't using it before. This is a little bit different because they weren't for so long.
The other extenuating circumstance that I saw in it as a member of the committee is that these are homes that are sitting on property that's owned by another entity that's owned by the university. Private individuals own the homes, but the university owns the property, and the property is what is how the Environmental and Franchise Committee wanted to look at it, in that the university does have it. We don't require the university to be in with our solid waste pickup program. It was the university that was asking about this. It wasn't the individual property owners. So in a sense, it's really not setting a precedence for, like, someone in my neighborhood decides that all of us as neighbors should get together and have one dumpster location, and it's a little bit beyond that. I mean, the actual scope of how these properties are actually in the city is completely different than any other properties that are around us. So that was one reason why I recommended out of the committee that we go ahead and make this switch. So
the consideration being that, similar to a multifamily, which of course is in one building but owned by one entity, multiple occupancies here, not in one building but in one area. Right. That was kind of the direction, the sense of that, I think.
So I don't know if that helps your decision or not, Martha, but that was how I looked at it.
Well, I was just concerned, just because of being, on the waste management board, et cetera, and looking at our bottom dollars and, some things like that. I just, as I say, was not excited about this precedent being set.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions or concerns from council members?
Just to clarify, though, it doesn't affect the city's income one way or another. Mm-hmm. If we have extra users, the bill just gets passed through. The waste management bills, we pay it to waste management, they pay it on the utility bill to us. It's a wash. So there's no loss revenue for the city.
Okay, so I'd like to get an affirmation of this action item, so if I could have a motion in a second.
So moved.
Motion from Hallie,
Second?
second from Hammis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1. All right. We'll move on now to our social host ordinance. This is the third and final reading of this ordinance. We've been through this 2 other times. I think we vetted it very well. The county already has it as their standard ordinance. We're part of the county. It's a logical progression that we would also have this same ordinance on our books. So is there any questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion and a second.
I would move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Ledger-Kalin. Please call the roll.
Excuse me, Rasmussen,
Yes.
Ledger-Kalin,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hammis,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes. I'm filling in for the mayor this evening because of a tragic accident that happened out in California with a family member. And so he did express to me that he had one item that he would like to have brought to the council concerning the Beautification Commission. Currently, there has been no terms of service set for the commission, and we're talking about having a 3-year term that a person would be serving or is appointed by on the commission, and that no one person would be allowed to serve more than 3 or 4 consecutive terms. So this is a committee that was set up by the mayor initially. It would be more of a policy and procedure rather than an actual ordinance that we would have to follow. Whether they're going to be staggered terms or not, I'm unclear at this point in time, but he did want me to bring this to you, and I had asked maybe if Kevin could have something for us, but I didn't see that.
I could have wrote that down, but that was about the long and short of it. 3-year terms and 3 consecutive, no more than. Of course, that would be from the setting point onward. We do have some people that I think may have already served more than 3-year consecutive terms, but at this point, it would set it going forward. So those folks could serve 3 more terms of 3 years, theoretically.
Well, and it would also set things more in line with what we do with the Park and Rec Commission and some of the other boards and commissions that we have here in the community. So I think the mayor has a very good point here, and I think that he will bring a final recommendation when he returns. So do we have anything from our city attorney to report?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. We have just one committee report left on our agenda here, the Water, Sewer, and Utilities Committee. We met this evening prior to the council meeting, and we discussed how we were to, or how we would like to have the council proceed with purchase of permanent easement and temporary easements involved with the sewer line construction, the transmission line from the plant north to Lamson Woods. We currently have company JGC, who is a property company that has looked at assessed values and created their own appraisal values, and they will continue to do appraisal values on the properties. We would like to see the council approve going ahead with that work at this point in time. If we can get this started and negotiations completed in time, we're hoping that we could let at least the transmission line project prior to the end of March, beginning of April, so that we can look at construction for that sewer work this summer. We also discussed, let me back up a little bit. Maybe we should put that to the whole council. Could I have a motion and a second for moving the project along to JGC, our property appraisers?
I'll move that we do that.
Motion from Ledger Kalen.
I'll second that, but should we show the map of the diagram to the whole council?
There is a map standing over here. Melanie, if you could maybe point out to the council or to the audience a little bit about what we're talking about.
Well, I can describe it in terms. The existing sewer is, I'll say, a little more jagged with approximately 70 foot permanent easement. There's a darker black line through here that straightens out a little bit from where the existing is, which would be the proposed alignment. We're recommending 100-foot easement, permanent easement, 50 foot either side of the proposed line approximately, and then recommending an additional 50 feet generally on the west side of that for a temporary easement. We're also recommending a staging area near the plant, a staging area just north of 34 that would allow for the boring pit, the boring of the highway, and then another staging area near Lamson Woods. And I guess clarification, not on Lamson Woods, but near the intersection of Fillmore Park and Mint.
The difference between a permanent easement and a temporary easement, if you could explain that, please.
The temporary easement will have a date deadline that it expires. The idea is that the city would only have that easement during the construction period. There would likely be a cost to own that easement for the 2 years, 3 years that it may be owned, as well as reestablishing the grass in the temporary easement. The permanent easement is permanently the city's. It allows access to that, to the sewer mains, access to the manholes. For example, when they want to televise it, they can drive along their easement, set up over the manhole, and do what they need to on the sewers.
And then restrictions for property owners once an easement is purchased. Now, there are things that property owners can do and can't do. Explain a little bit about that.
Yep. The number one thing that they can't do on a permanent easement is build a structure. The first thing, or the obvious thing, is a building. We don't want a building there, sheds, garages, anything, houses over the sewer. The one thing that we're adding, particularly because a lot of this project is in, I'll say, rural ag land, is that we would recommend that they're not allowed to either cut the earth to decrease the cover over the pipe. Granted, in a lot of these, they'd have to be removing 20 feet before the pipe would get into any harm, but we would not want them to cut more than 20 feet. We'd also do not want the property owner, to fill over the land. So for example, if Congress would want to build a pond on theirs, they could not let that slope go over the pipe. One thing is, if the city ever needed to access the pipe, not only would they have more dirt to dig through, but they could also potentially cause damage to that pond. And it's just liability that the city doesn't want to get into.
But a property owner could still farm or mow the grass or maintain a garden or
pasture cattle, anything.
Just the change in elevation is the biggest concern for us.
And any permanent structures.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second to move ahead with putting this forward to JGC to begin negotiations and finalizing the assessments and bids.
JCG.
JCG.
Yes.
Thank you, sorry.
And the council will have one more
Dyslexia.
opportunity to look at these before the negotiation starts. Once you approve this to move forward, JCG gets the estimates, and then we come back into a closed session for you to review the what I would call the initial offer. And then that starts the negotiation process. So you will see this one more time. At that time, when we have the closed session, you would also have the terms of the easement, I'll say the starting terms of the easement to review at that time.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Since I have a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The second part of our meeting concerned discussion of being able to qualify for community block grant funding. We need to follow through with our community income survey that we've initially started. We've begun this work with trying to get a block grant for our downtown revitalization, but I had further discussions after our council meeting where we had addressed that with Matt Bauman, and he was recommending that we also do the same thing for our sanitary sewer projects, that we are going to be affecting people of a lower or moderate income with new taps to the sewer lines and some expenses that way. And he has done several of these types of grants for sewer projects and water projects in various cities here in Region 15, and he felt very strongly that if we could get our survey done and done accurately, we would have no problems qualifying for these types of grants. The grant period is in the grant submission period is in November, and so we need to be timely in trying to get people to know that if we've sent them a letter for requesting information for income, that this information is going to be used for these grant applications. So if we could get some support from the council with efforts that the utility committee is going to go forward with, then we would look for any help that we could get. One of the ideas is that we're going to put a letter again in the utility bills expressing that if you've received one of these surveys, please fill it out and get it back in the time frame that's stated in the letter. So, and we also discussed that we're going to have a meeting coming up on February 10th. I believe that's our next council meeting. The utility committee will meet then at 6 o'clock prior to the council meeting so that we could discuss the siting of the equalization basins and proceeding with that end of our treatment facility project. We want to have an opportunity for the public to come one more time and give us some input at that time, and then bring a recommendation out of that meeting to the council. So that's about the whole of our committee meeting, and I guess I'm going to ask, do we have anything from our administrator or department heads?
Do any department heads have a report to provide or anything they'd like to comment on? Adam? Well, that completes our work here.
All right, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Hammes, second by Ledger Kalen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.